God, I've been broken more than a time or two. Yes, Lord. Then he picked me up and showed me what it means to be a man. That's why I sing on, my hope is in Jesus. Thank God my yesterday's gone, and all my sins are forgiven. I've been washed by the blood. Come on and sing on, my hope is in Jesus. Thank God my yesterday's gone, and all my sins are forgiven. Yes, they are. And I've been washed by the blood.
Hello, 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 Amplify. Welcome to our November meeting. I'm gonna kick off our night for us. If you don't know me, my name is, Julie said to be quiet, everyone, sorry. Okay, I will wait. If you don't know who I am, my name is Haley Eikens. I am the operations specialist here at Amplify, and I have the honor of kicking off our night. So I'm super excited to introduce someone who's not just an incredible person, but also one of my favorite people in the world, my uncle, Matt Kleinheisen. Yeah, absolutely. Now, his official bio, you'll see all of his professional accolades, but I want to give you a little sneak peek into the Matt that I know and grew up with. This is the guy that took me to my very first concert. He made me feel like I was super cool and belonged during those really awkward teenage years, and just made me feel like I could sit at the adult table, even though I totally could not, and I still do not sit at the adult table. Fun fact, he even sang at my wedding, which is super special. To me, Matt will always be the epitome of the ultimate cool. He's so cool. I mean, who can pull off that hat? Only him, only him. And he's played a huge role in shaping my musical taste, and even now, as he's a first-time grandpa, and I'm a mom, we still text each other often, swapping songs and chatting about concerts, like we always have. And seeing him dive into creating and sharing his own music has been so fun to watch. So, without further ado, here's my super cool Uncle Matt.
She's far too kind, but she knows that I love her, so I thank you for that, Haley. I'm going to play just a song now to get things going, but I wanted to have a little fun with this, knowing the mission of Amplify, of how you all come together, how you work to kind of build some of these nonprofits, and you work to grow them, and maybe you're helping them a little bit, maybe they're hurting it a little bit, but you come together, you come with ideas, and you kind of build them up. And so what I thought I would do is, there's a song by Chris Stapleton called Broken Halos, and I changed the lyrics up a little bit to be Wounded Halos, because I don't want anybody to feel like I'm saying, that something's broken, but more like, how can we come around, and how this organization can come and build up some of these nonprofits. So this is my version of Wounded Halos. I've seen my share of wounded halos, folded wings now spread by Amplify. They've all come, and we want them to go. Be wounded halos and now shine bright. The angels come down from the heavens, just to help them on their way. We've come to teach them, and we'll never leave them. And then we'll find some other soul to save. 'Cause I've seen my share of wounded halos, folded wings now spread by Amplify. They've all come, and we want them to go. Be wounded halos and now shine bright. Be wounded halos and now shine bright. Let's go looking for solutions with our Jesus by our side. We're all here to find those solutions to help these halos go shine bright. To help these halos go shine bright. I've seen my share of wounded halos, folded wings now spread by Amplify. We've come together 'cause we're better together to help these halos go shine bright. To help these halos go shine bright. To help these halos go shine bright. Let's help these halos go shine bright.
Good evening. Wow. We had 289 RSVPs. And we only have 244 chairs. So the bad news is scoot over and let someone sit next to you. And those people in the back, there's some chairs up here at this table, so please find a seat for yourselves. And there's one right there and one over here, one back there, two over there. So let's get you guys off the wall and in the seats. Thank you. My name is Julie, and I am president of Amplify Mission Network for a few more days, and then I become president emeritus. So I have a few... I have a few things to share before we get started. We have a reputation of starting and ending on time. But I think tonight we might go a little over. So in case we go a little over tonight, if you need to step out, please do so, but please don't send me an email and tell me we ended late. I want to tell you, those people walking around with balloons, those are our balloon people. We call them our mini mentors. If you're new tonight, I hope you were welcomed by one of them and they told you a little bit about what to expect tonight and answered any question you have. Throughout the night, if you have any more questions, please just find one of those balloon people. I want to thank part of the Tradition family tonight, specifically Tradition Mortgage and Tradition Capital Bank, for being our meeting sponsor. So will anyone who's part of the Tradition family stand up? I know Corey, Jen, I don't know if Eric, Dan, will you stand up so we can give you a round of applause and thank you? Reed, Jennifer, thank you so much. And meeting sponsors help us keep this meeting free for all of you. And now, oh shoot, I didn't grab a feedback form. Okay, so there's a feedback form that's in front of you on your desk, or on your table. These forms are super Kate is holding one up, so find it. These forms are super important to the executive directors because they not only value your ideas and your connections, but also your words of encouragement. And I promise it's different than what you do during the brainstorm session. So will you all pick up a pen? No one's picking up a pen. Okay, pick up a pen and put your name on the top. And I don't care if you just write one word of encouragement or you check one box or you write down one idea, but we love to get your feedback tonight because the executive directors really appreciate it. I also want to bring your attention, we always are tweaking things, and tonight we tweaked the feedback form. There is a box on the feedback form, and it has specific asks from our executive directors that lets you know what they're needing and looking for. So will you read them and consider if you or someone you know might be able to help fill that need, and then will you fill in the box? 2 more quick things before we get started. Our presenting ministries are drinking from a fire hose, so on their behalf, I'm asking for grace. If you share a connection or a resource, and they aren't able to follow up with you as fast as you would like. Many of these folks are one-person bands, and they're operating and drinking, as I said, from a fire hose, so be patient. And if you could make your suggestions specific and detailed as possible. 30,000 feet suggestions like call Bethel and get an intern when you're working by yourself is not always helpful. So let's move from the 30,000 foot level down to the 30 foot or the 3 foot level where the suggestions are tactical, executable, and low-hanging fruit. Okay, now, finally, before I introduce our speaker tonight, I'm excited to introduce Amplify's next president, Andrea McMaster. If you've been in this room before, you know I don't read bios by way of an introduction. You can read all that online. Instead, I will share what Andrea's close friends say about her. Andrea cares deeply about people and continues to strive to do better in all she does. If there is a job to do, she'll get it done. At her core, Andrea is a woman of great faith, integrity, and joy. She takes the high road, assumes the best, is prayerful in all things, and is someone many aspire to be more like. I know these qualities and many more, Andrea is going to do an amazing job. I don't have a baton to pass, but I have something even better. I have a prayer beach ball that has all my hopes and prayers for Andrea written on it. So I don't think I can throw that far, but if you come a little closer, there you go. After the meeting, please introduce yourself to Andrea. You will hear more from her in January at the meeting as she shares her heart and vision for the future of Amplify. One more warm welcome for Andrea. You know, some people have this incredible ability to see a simple way to make the world a little better, and then they just go for it. Terry Esau is one of those people. He's the kind of person who looks at a kid without a bike or guitar and says, "That's not okay, I can fix that." And then he does. Terry leads with kindness and has a deep belief that small acts of generosity can ripple in huge ways. So I'm really excited for you to hear from Terry tonight. Terry?
Thanks, Julie. This is awesome. You know, I had never heard about Amplify until about 4 or 5 months ago, and my friend Gary Clark and John Lindemann invited me to this, and I go, okay, I'll come to it. And I did, and it's like, this is the most awesome organization. So whatever, all of what you're doing is very cool. Mary, throw me the clicker, I forgot it. So, I've got a problem. I get restless. Some people say that I have a short attention span, that I like to chase shiny objects. That's true. But what if restlessness is not a problem at all, but rather a light on the dashboard of your life telling you it's time for a change? So how do you recognize restlessness? Do you ever have that gnawing sense that what has felt so right for so long now feels kind of dead and unfulfilling? Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night imagining ways to get fired? Or dreaming about writing a novel, not a spreadsheet? I think some of you know what I'm talking about. Restlessness most often comes at me like a sharp elbow to the ribs. It's like she says, hey, Terry, pay attention here. You might want to course correct. And when that happens, I think that that's God reaching in to tell me something. And you know, sometimes when you're looking at that wake-up call and stuff, I think some people think of the Holy Spirit as a dove. I think that's all wrong. I think the Holy Spirit is more like a sharp elbow. And if the Holy Spirit is a sharp elbow, what is our job? To maintain tender, sensitive ribs and welcome the nudge, right? So, I want to tell you a few stories tonight about when that elbow of the Holy Spirit has nudged me into career paths that I never saw coming. A music career, working with Amy Grant, Alice Cooper, Jim Henson, and even Prince. And then a sharp left turn from writing jingles to writing books, and then to starting a couple of nonprofits. So it started in an 8-by-8-foot square practice room, unventilated, in a music store. I'm halfway through my college degree, and I'm broke. So I decide I'm going to take a year off, get a job, make some money. I got a job in a music store teaching guitar lessons. As it turns out, to junior high boys who only wanted to learn how to play Smoke on the Water. Bum, 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 bum. Except it didn't sound that good all the time. So 55 lessons a week after week. I think after the first week, I was starting to feel the elbow. But after 9 months, she was almost breaking my ribs. And I walked into my boss's office and I said, I quit. So now I had 3 months left before I was going to go back and finish my college degree. By the way, a degree in music education, which I was pretty sure I didn't want to do. I was imagining, leading a small town marching band in a summer parade, 90 degrees, smelly wool uniforms, trying to get them to differentiate their left from their right. Whew, didn't sound like fun to me. And if there are any music educators out there, God bless you. But luckily, that's when the elbow came after me. And I heard her say something strange. She said, hey, Terry, put Smoke on the Water to bed, baby. You could be a jingle writer. And I was like, a what? Then I remembered back to my very first day of college, first day of Music Theory 101. Our professor walked in and she said, welcome, you musical illiterates. Your assignment, go back to your dorm room, write a jingle about milk, come back tomorrow and perform it for the class. You're dismissed. So here I am, like 3.5, 4 years later, and I go, could I be a jingle writer? So I put on my outdated sport coat that I had purchased at Chess King, and I started walking into Minneapolis ad agencies, and I announced, hey, I'm your new jingle writer. And they said, well, what jingles have you done? And I said, well, I did this milk commercial for music theory class. They were not impressed. I went to a few more ad agencies. I got the same questions, the same rejections. So I moved to phase 2 of my plan. I got out a legal pad and I sat down in front of the radio. And for 3 hours, I listened and I wrote down every jingle that I heard that sucked. And then I prioritized them. The number 1 jingle on my list, Menards. Let's all sing it together. Save big money at Menards. It was the same jingle 40 years ago. I called them and I said, I think your jingle could use a little help. That didn't go over well. They thought their jingle was killing, and They basically kicked me out of there. And I went down my list on my legal pad, and it was like, okay, got the same questions, same rejections. I moved to phase 3 of my plan. I went to Chesking, and I bought a new sport coat, and then I got in my rusted-out Chevy Malibu, and I drove down to Rochester. So Rochester did not have any ad agencies at the time, and I had a plan. So now I walked into random businesses, and I said, today only, I'm offering to write a jingle for you. I will go back to Minneapolis and I'll hire the best musicians I know, my college friends, and I'll rent a recording studio. I had never been in a recording studio, and I'll write a jingle for you. The only thing I ask of you is if I play it for you and you love it, you'll negotiate a price with me. I got 3 businesses to agree to that legally loophole deal. And a week later, I returned and sold all 3 of them. And yeah, I know. You were as surprised as me. And so for the rest of that summer, for July and August, I shuttled back and forth to Rochester, writing, recording, doing deals. And I made more money in those 2 months, July and August, than I did the previous 9 months listening to musically unrecognizable versions of Smoke on the Water. So I finished that, and then I went back to school in the fall. I finished my degree. I married the love of my life, Mary, right there. We moved to Rochester after living there for 8 months. The alarm clock radio went off, and there were 3 of my jingles in a row, and I rolled over in bed, and I said, baby, we're moving back to the big city. Now I walked into Minneapolis ad agencies with no mention of my milk masterpiece, and I started getting hired to do jingles for McDonald's and Pepsi and Harleys and Hondas and, okay, so this is me in my dorm room, pretending I'm a music producer. But then I started getting hired to do things like a Target Christmas campaign, and I got to work with Amy Grant. That really is me. My hair is just a different color now. And then I did a Sam Goody commercial with Alice Cooper, and then I got to do some Sesame Street music with Jim Henson. I even got to mix one of my tunes with Prince. Yeah, he didn't allow a picture. So yeah, it was a 25-year, 30-year musical career that started with a nudge from the elbow of the Holy Spirit that said, hey, Terry, you could be a jingle writer. So when those moments have happened to you, what do you do? I think sometimes the worst thing that we can do is nothing, to kind of sit down at the fork in the road and have a picnic, you know. I think we do that because fear sets in and we go, well, this path doesn't look that much fun. This looks a little scary. And you go, what if I make the wrong choice? I think the worst choice is the picnic, doing nothing. You see, I found that the Holy Spirit is in the business of encouraging us to step out, to take a risk, to take a chance. She often says things to me like, well, what do you love? What energizes you? What makes you go, man, I want to do that again? What does she whisper in your ear? So the elbow brought me to my music career, and then she took me away. I was sitting down at the piano one December trying to write a jingle. And as I'm sitting there, I'm looking at the black keys and the white keys, and they're not talking to me, and they're getting nothing inspiring from me. But as I was doing this, there was this story idea going through my head. Went like this. Okay, a guy wakes up on Christmas morning. He's all alone. He's discouraged. He's disenchanted with life. So he does something weird. He gets a piece of cardboard out, writes heaven on it, and takes it to the side of the road and starts hitchhiking. And I go, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be writing a jingle. So I'm back at the piano, and then I go, oh. And then a guy pulls over in a rusted-out pickup truck, and our guy hops in, and he looks over at the driver, and he's dressed up head to toe like Santa Claus, but like a white trash Santa. You know, he's got ketchup stains in his beard and some French fries in his costume, and He just got paid $50 to play Santa Claus for some party or something. And he goes, hey, I can't get you to heaven, but I can take you as far as the North Pole. Ho, ho, ho. So I go back to the piano, and then they come across another hitchhiker. And he's got a sign that says Earth. So now I'm going, okay, this is too weird. So I get up and I go to my laptop and I start writing this story about these three guys who are sitting in the front seat of a pickup truck. We have a Christ figure hitchhiking to Earth on Christmas morning, sitting beside a guy who's trying to figure out how to get to heaven, being chauffeured by the cultural icon of Christmas, Santa Claus. And with the dialogue that I got to write, I was able to tell the Christmas story in a rather unorthodox sort of way. And it was really fun. And we sent that story out as our Christmas card that year. But something weird happened when I was writing the story. I'm sitting at the computer keyboard, and all of a sudden I realized that notes were becoming words, and melodies were becoming sentences, and rhythm was becoming punctuation. And I thought, you know what? I'm still writing music, but I'm just using a different palette. So I got hooked on this, and during the course of the next year, I wrote 30 short stories that put God or Jesus in interesting, quirky situations that I thought would help people understand who he is, how much he loved them, all that kind of stuff. And then I started telling my stories to people, and sometimes people would say, well, do you have these stories in a book or something that we could get? And I was like, that's funny. I'm a jingle writer. That would be an author that would do that. But after getting asked it a few more times, I thought, well, maybe I should send this out to some people. And I did, and all of a sudden, I ended up getting 3 offers to publish my stories. And Thomas Nelson published Blue Collar God, White Collar God. And it was kind of cool, but, I go, okay, now what, back to jingles? No, then the elbow came after me again and said, hey, do you want to do a spiritual experiment? I was like, what does it look like? Here's how it looks. I decided I was going to wake up every day for 30 days, begin my day with a 3-word prayer. Surprise me, God. But not surprise me with a new Escalade or winning the lottery, but surprise me with whatever it is you want to bring into my day. And then I decided I was going to keep a journal of those 30 days. And Nav Press said, can we print your journal? So this book is just my journal of the 30 days. Chapter 1 is day 1. Chapter 2 is day 2. And now I got invited to churches. For like the next 3 years, I would speak in a different church almost every Sunday, introducing the congregation to this surprise me God concept. And it was a really great adventure. Then a couple of years later, the elbow came after me again and said, hey, now that people are recognizing the surprises, tell them that they can be participants. Tell them that they can become the surprise for other people. So then this came out, be the surprise. You seeing a pattern here? So then it got a little more weird. So a few years later, I was thinking, okay, so far I've written 3 books that are kind of targeted to people who sit in pews who are in church, right? And I thought, I've spent my whole career working with people who were not necessarily those people, who kind of, let's be honest, some of them had a wrong image of who Jesus is. Some of that's our fault, but I'm not going to get into that tonight. And I thought, I wonder if I could write a story that would help those people see this Jesus that I know, the Jesus that's in the Gospels. So I got this idea to write a novel. And here's how it goes. Let's just say Jesus didn't come 2,000 years ago, okay? Just didn't happen. But he comes now. But he's coming now for the first time. And he comes right here in Minneapolis. I know. You have to use your imaginations here. So if Jesus hadn't come 2,000 years ago, think, how would the world be different? There's no New Testament. There's no Catholic church, there's no Protestant church, there's no Christmas, there's no Easter, there's no Peter, Paul, Mary, Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Da Vinci, Rembrandt, no Sistine Chapel, no Martin Luther King Jr., no Billy Graham. It would have been a very different world, right? So then I go, okay, well then who would Jesus pick to be his disciples here in Minneapolis? And one of them is a tattoo artist who lives in North Minneapolis. One is an autistic homeless man who lives under the Lake Street Bridge. One is a woman who sits on the Minneapolis City Council. There are two brothers who play in a Celtic metal band. They're kind of my favorites. And a 17-year-old slave girl. So in the story, I get to follow Jesus around. I get to make up parables. And that was fun, by the way. And I think I was able to tell the story of Jesus in a way that some people hadn't heard before, for sure, but in a way that I hope was true to the story of Jesus in the Gospels. And by the way, that's what it looks like, although it's not a physical book. It's just, it lives online. And by the way, if any of you want to read this, you can read it for free at this website. You can download it for free. You can actually listen to me read it for free on YouTube. But I'm warning you, I did not write this book for the church. So it has some graphic stuff and it has some strong language, so be careful. Okay. Where was I? So the Holy Spirit elbow was not done with me yet. And by the way, she's not done with you, not even close. So one day I'm sitting at my recording studio and the phone rings and an ad agency says, Terry, we want you to write a jingle for a product called Inhibitor Bolus. Does anybody know what that is? I didn't either. Well, it's a big pill that a farmer forces a cow to swallow. It goes through the cow system, and when the cow deposits its pie in the pasture, the cow pie is laced with a chemical that inhibits the reproduction of flies. So they were paying me to write a jingle about a product that kills flies in cow pies. And I refer to this as one more of those elbow epiphanies where I felt like the elbow said to me, really? Is this what you want to do with the rest of your life? And then she said something weird. She goes, hey, have you ever thought about becoming a bicycle philanthropist? I was like, wow. Okay, so here's the truth. I'm a bikeaholic. Do you know how you know if you're a bikeaholic? If your bicycle costs more than your car. Anybody? Hey, I knew there would be a couple here. I love it. That either says you have a really crappy car. So, and then when I was 10, I had a paper route because I got paid to ride my bike. When I was 12, my brother and I would build ramps and we'd collect neighborhood kids and have them lie down in the street and see how many we could jump over. It's okay, we usually made it. And then, when I was 16, my buddy Gary and I decided we were going to ride our bicycles to the West Coast and back. And for some reason, we thought it would be cool to have matching t-shirts. And then later on, I started racing bikes. I actually have a metal plate and 9 screws in my shoulder to prove that. But then one December, a friend called me and said, hey, Terry, there's this family in our area. They've had a rough year financially. They can't afford to buy a Christmas present for their kid. Do you think one of your friends would have a bicycle we could give them? I started checking around with my friends, and we all did. We still had our little girls' bikes from when they were little. And so I said, okay, this sounds like a fun little hobby. Let's collect bikes this December. We'll fix them up and we'll give them to kids. And we did, and we fixed up and gave away about 250 bikes. And all of my friends said, that's fun, let's do it again next year. So we did. We started a little earlier, and it was 750. And the next year, it was 1,500. And I said, okay, this doesn't feel like a hobby anymore. this is starting to feel like a job. How about if we put together a board? I'll go find a corporate sponsor. And that year, we launched Free Bikes for Kids. So now Free Bikes for Kids is in 20 plus cities. We've given away 200,000 bicycles. And we set a Guinness World Record. So this is right here in Minneapolis. This is an 80,000 square foot warehouse. On a Saturday morning, it was empty, and by 4 o'clock in the afternoon on that Saturday, we had taken in almost 10,000 bikes from people like you all over the Twin Cities area. And yes, that was... And now I have this big, hairy, audacious dream of being in 100 cities and giving away 1 million bikes. And you know what? I think we can do it. And there's, the thing that keeps me going on this a lot is these smiles of these kids who are under-resourced, who with no chance to get a bike, and now they get a bike. Okay, I had a little fun with AI here. I thought, Jesus must ride a bike, don't you think? So here's a thought. When you are feeling restless, and the elbow comes after you, I think it's kind of like reading the first paragraph of a novel. There's a long, meandering story after that first paragraph. But if you never turn the page to 2, 3, or 4, the story never gets told. It never actually gets lived. So when the elbow comes after you, you have to turn the page. So a couple of years ago, Elbow came after me again and said, hey, Terry, what do you think about becoming a guitar philanthropist? And I was like, oh boy, here we go again. And so Free Guitars for Kids was born. It's a sickness. And now we've given guitars away in 23 states, in 3 different countries. Just yesterday, I got a video from Uganda where there was a whole class of people with guitars that we sent over there playing Lean On Me, of all things. Let's see, 23 states. Okay, so this is in Austin, Texas, where we gave away a bunch of guitars. I think this is in Nashville. It's just fun to see what's going on there. So I think we're going to find the next Amy Grant, or the next Stephen Curtis Chapman, or the next Prince, or Chris Stapleton, or Matthew Kleinhusen. I think they're out there, and I think when we give these kids a guitar, well, first of all, we all know who Bob Dylan is, right? What if Bob Dylan had never gotten a guitar? Think of the vacuum that we would have. Think of Blowing in the Wind, how that song impacted our culture. I think some of the kids that we're giving guitars to are going to be writing love songs that we're all going to be singing someday. I think that could happen. Okay, I'm wrapping it up here. I have a 2-part dream. Someday, I think a young man is going to be standing on the top step of the Tour de France, and he's going to say, when I was invisible, a stranger saw me and gave me a bicycle. And someday, a young woman is going to be standing on the stage accepting her Grammy Award and say, when I was invisible, somebody saw me and gave me a guitar. On that day, I'm going to be wearing a goofy grin, grateful for a restless spirit, for eyes that have learned to see invisible people, for tender ribs, and for that relentless elbow that says, hey, Terry, here's an idea. What do you think? You want to go for it? So, have you felt the nudge? Has the elbow come after you? Are you feeling it right now? If you are, consider yourself lucky. God loves you so much that he wants to write you into his story, and he wants to write his story into you. But when you feel the nudge, you have to turn the page. So trust me on this. There's an adventure that you do not want to miss. Thank you.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. Wow. Let's practice feeling the nudges and seeing invisible people. Thank you for that. Terry has generously brought his Surprise Me book tonight, so anyone who wants one can take one. After the meeting, it's on the back table. And I bet you they're free, and Terry will sign it. And now I want to introduce a guy who, more than most people, have made me stop and consider how I live my life and how I want to live my life going forward. Since the day I met Tim Koivisto, the executive director of Legacy to Inspire, I've looked more closely at how I actually show up for people and what my agenda is. With Tim, there is no agenda. He shows up so people feel seen, known, heard, loved, cared for, respected, and accepted regardless. And he does it over and over and over again for kids across the Twin Cities every week. Let's listen to the story of how Legacy to Inspire began.
In 2019, I got diagnosed with appendix cancer and pseudomyxoma. Basically, this is a pretty rare type of cancer where it grows in your abdomen, and it doesn't respond to chemo or immunotherapies or any kind of drug therapies. So the only treatment option is surgery, and then that has, of course, its limits. So in 2019, I had surgery for it. Things looked pretty good up until February of 2022, or 2021, sorry. As I was, my doctors told me that I probably only had about 6 months left to live. The cancer had progressed to a point where we couldn't do surgery anymore, and there just wasn't any other good treatment options. So while I was in the hospital, kind of processing that news, I was thinking through what do I do with all of my tools and the skills that I've acquired. I grew up with a grandfather and a dad who were big wood and metal workers, always doing stuff on their own, just kind of handyman people. And so I grew up in that environment. I've always been around tools. I've always been exposed to building things, and I kind of just take that for granted. But there's a lot of people that don't have that opportunity. And if you don't have a good mentor or access to tools, it can be a really high bar to get into actually being able to build anything. So the original idea with Legacy to Inspire was to take my tools, put them in a trailer, and be able to take that trailer around and connect with youth and give them an opportunity to try their hand at building things. Fast forward a little bit, I moved to Cleveland. I had a multi-organ transplant, and that bought me more time. So they were able to clear out a bunch of the cancer and just give me an extended outlook on life. As I came back to Minnesota after that year in Cleveland getting that treatment, the big focus was, all right, let's get Legacy actually going and see kind of what it's going to be. And so we came up with this mentorship model around using the trailer. We purchased a 29-foot trailer that we built out into a full shop. It can be wood and metal. We can switch out tools. And we started trying to find ways to use it. We felt like with the goal of helping people learn how to build and design things, we're really inspiring them to explore their own creativity and to figure out and find new ways to express themselves. And then ultimately, when they learn those things, they pass that on and it becomes their legacy as well. And so it's just a continuous cycle of learning and then passing it on. And so that's where the name Legacy to Inspire came from, is I'm using my legacy to inspire the next generation, and then they're gonna continue doing the same thing.
Thank you. My name is Tim Koivisto, like Julie said. My friend Andy here, we had hoped that he'd be in the room with us today. When we started this, planning for this presentation a few months ago, we didn't know. Unfortunately, he passed away a few weeks ago. So you're gonna have to bear with me, probably at points of this. Sorry, that was the spot. A little bit about my story on how I connected with Andy and how I became a part of this. In the summer of 2021, I was about 25 years into a technology sales career. My primary role really was join early stage companies, figured out how to get to $1 million and help them build a revenue and sales function. And I got pretty good at it. I got addicted to commission checks and airline miles. And so but in summer of 21, something happened. Talk about Holy Spirit showing up. I thought I was having a heart attack. Went to the hospital. It was not a heart attack. Physically, I checked out just fine. But what it did do was it triggered a big spiritual journey for my wife and I in our household. And I spent the better part of the next year wrestling with God. Like, it was this constant tension of like, okay, God, I hear you. My specific prayer was, I need clarity. What do you want me to do with my ability to build businesses then? If you want me to walk away from it, what do you want me to do with that? So I just wrestled it. Meanwhile, my baby graduated from high school last year. I watched that generation. They've got it tough. We can't deny the mental health stats that we see in that generation. And I've started to see this thing happening when kids don't have positive adults in their life. They don't have infrastructure at home. So I had all this tension with my career and that, and I didn't know what to do with it. Meanwhile, Andy and Rachel are in Cleveland. Andy had his big surgery, which gave him extra time, as he called it, and they geared up to come back to Minnesota. In the summer of 22, they moved back to Minnesota. They had been praying for somebody to come along that knew how to build a business plan, somebody that knew how to chase money, somebody that could help kind of take this idea that Andy started from his hospital bed 3.5 years ago now and turn it into something real. So they had been praying for that. I had been praying for what to do next. Literally the week they moved back, Andy and I met on a bike ride. Can't make it up. So we quickly became friends, divine friendship. It was clear. Like I said, he went to be with Jesus just a few weeks ago. Absolutely feels like I knew him forever. So a little bit about what Legacy to Inspire is. We locked in on this shared vision of combining this wrestle with youth and his idea of putting tools in a trailer and getting them in the hands of kids that might not otherwise have a chance. And we created what is now Legacy to Inspire. We make connections with youth through building together. We specifically focus on connecting youth high school age with positive adult mentors by operating a mobilized workshop platform. Our shop, not going to spend a lot of time on it. My buddy Matt is in the room with us tonight. He's got the trailer outside. You can check it out afterwards, but it's a 29-foot trailer that's fully heated. It can give you shop envy if you like shops. It can be a full wood shop, or it can be converted to a metal shop. And so again, check it out. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it today, but it's pretty sweet. How our model works, we partner with alternative high schools. If you're not familiar with what the alternative system is, basically kids that are at risk of not graduating get referred into the alternative system because they need an alternative learning path. They're at risk of not graduating. There's a whole bunch of reasons for that. Oftentimes, it's because they don't have infrastructure at home. Not always, but oftentimes there can be a whole bunch of reasons why they might be behind. My core why in this is I just believe that every kid deserves to have a positive adult showing up for them, period. Okay, so when we go in to partner with these alternative schools, it just gives us an opportunity to cast a wide net into some of the youth that we want to reach. The second piece of it, we bring a program team. My ask is going to revolve around a program team. The only thing I want to mention here is that it's the same team at each school each week. So the idea is we're building relationships with these students by seeing the same students every single week, okay? Coming back to that. The third thing is we build projects together. So there's 3 primary themes that we work on when we think about projects. Our curriculum can be community projects. We all know that something special happens when you serve together. So when we're building things for the community, some examples of that, our food shelves around us are operating, they're putting the resources in the right places, but they're operating with garbage for shelving. So we might build some really high quality built-in shelving for them, and where it's a way that we can bless them with the students. We might be making pantry carts that sit outside for families that need after-hours access for those same food shelves. We made a bunch of Adirondack chairs and Leopold benches that are out at Camp Courage and Camp Friendship. So the idea is that the bulk of our programming is how do we double impact, the kids working on things to impact their community. But the second thing that we work on is individual. It's almost Christmas time. We've got a whole bunch of chessboards being made. We've got a whole bunch of bowls being turned. There's all kinds of cool stuff that we can make trinket boxes, bring them home, and feel something I made this, and I'm going to give it as a gift. So we got a lot of that. And then the third category is academic. That's our smallest category. We might partner with a teacher. And so example, last year we were part of an aerospace class. So we partnered with the teacher. We built a wind tunnel. And he was able to experiment with lift and drag, and the kids could visualize it, but we helped them build it. So those are the 3 categories of projects that we work on. But we're mentorship first. And we don't want to miss it. Our shop is cool, and tools are cool, and building stuff is cool. But we're mentorship first. So our buddy Bob Goff, some of us remember Bob Goff here a few weeks ago, a couple months ago. People aren't projects. We are not here to fix anything. We're not here to fix anybody. We're here to show up and create a space and let God do the work. That's what this whole thing is about. We talk about bringing a program team, but every single class that we start with 3 primary values that we ground in. Safety is a team sport at Legacy. Not going to spend a lot of time on that. That's obvious. But no pressure is actually a really, really important one. So no pressure is about the space. There's an emotional safety that we provide with that. But these kids, we partner with a math class or a science class or an English class. These kids didn't choose shop class. So they probably have never touched these tools before often, okay? So the idea is, I'm just gonna give you a practical example. Common story, I saw it as recent as last week. Student goes up to a miter saw and I can literally see a shake. Visible, right? And so how we show up and enter that space with them is why we exist. They are not shaking because they're scared of the miter saw. They're shaking because somebody's been telling them no their whole life. And we're stepping into that space with them. We're not going to force them through it. We're not going to make them do it. But we're also not going to just let them walk away. So we enter that space with them, and we walk them through it, and you can literally start to see confidence go up. You can visibly see it. The stories start coming out. When we use these 3 things, the stories start coming out, and they're going to rip the heart out of your chest, some of them. But it validates that we're on the right track. So there's some data that's starting to be shown. A couple of examples that we're seeing some rich data. It's early. I didn't mention, this is our first full programming year. We're kind of new to this thing. But some of the data is showing, so these schools will track SEL, or social emotional learning scores, so it's a mental health indicator. Literally, you can see a flat line. We showed up and we saw a lift in the graph. Like, can't make it up, right? The second thing that we're seeing is attendance. We're seeing attendance through the roof, almost unbelievable numbers on the days we're there versus days we're not. I think that's what's driving other schools to be calling us. We've got demand. It's pretty incredible to see what we're seeing. But instead of showing you early data, because we can all make data say what we want it to, I'm going to have you hear from a few students.
Excitement that they have just to meet new people and to interact with people who are learning still. Like, they're great mentors and great teachers too. Something similar with all of them is that they go through hardship and they're still so determined to keep pushing forward with a positive attitude and like other people in mind.
We had one class day last year that kind of just like stuck with me. It was kind of like what we want to make like our legacy. The beard man, he kind of just like sat down with me, and I thought he like wouldn't take the time to do everyone individually, but he did. And there was like 20 people in that class at the time, so it kind of just like sat with me that he just sat there and listened to me talk for like 20 minutes just about my life, and he kind of just like led me to the better perspective rather than the worst, and kind of gave me the dad figure when I needed it in that time. So that was really, really awesome.
I think I have learned a lot that I didn't even think I could learn in school at all. And when I first started, I was wondering what was legacy to inspire. And just hearing Andy's story really inspired me to just try something new and not be scared to do something that I've never done before. Learning how to fix a wall after you broke the wall, painting, just making art projects and just helping the community.
Seeing them just like so excited to like get to know us and get to help us do whatever we're doing. It's just so welcoming. Like, really, like you don't even have to know them, and you just feel like they just want to give you a big hug from the start.
Yeah. I feel like so privileged to be able to meet with these people and learn from them, and being able to be just amazing mentors and great people throughout all of it. It's incredible to say the least.
Andy reminded me of my grandpa. He kept going no matter what to make a legacy to inspire.
So, hug without knowing them. The dad figure I needed. We have students that are dads. And they'll say things like us is everyone cares about my kid, but they don't care about me. And like we have to step into that space with them, and we create it. So that's literally why we exist. So I'm going to jump into a couple boring stuff for you, bean counters. There's financially, we're not asking for money, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview. It's going to cost us about $250,000 to operate this programming year, which is this school year. Okay, we've got mostly individual donors that are supporting us. We have a little bit of service grants support, but for the most part, it's one-at-a-time donations that we're getting from individuals that are showing up. Probably the most interesting point on that is our top 10 make up about 40%, but it's an even split across them. We haven't found our big hit yet, making up most of it. So, but generally speaking, I feel really good about being able to push this forward. But it's like I said, as you're going to find out, we've got demand, and we're trying to figure out what do we do with it. So where are we? The map on the screen is the Minnesota Association of Alternative Programs, a map. There's actually 6 regions. We're in the south, or their northwest region. We've got 8 partnerships today. About 200 students a week work with our programs. And it's literally, we have schools requesting that we can't say yes to. We're in our first year, and we're saying no, and we're not sure what to do with that yet. So what we're starting to think about is, in the 25-26 school year, do we launch a metro trailer? There's a lot of demand. There's some practical things, obviously, we need, a truck and a trailer. As you'll see outside, we've got a truck and a trailer combo. To build another one, we probably need $130,000 just to build it. There's materials. As we're going through it, we're starting to have a lot of material needs, but that is not our critical gap. I think clearly we need money, but there's this need for teams. In order to activate another trailer, we would need 4 or 5 new program leads, and we would need 15 to 20 new volunteer mentors. And that would allow us to really double our impact and get about close to 500 students a week, okay? And one of the tricks to that is obviously it's during the school day, which means during the work day, okay? So I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about the teams. Every team has a contracted program lead. This is an individual that shows up, think teacher. And so they own the curriculum. Their job is to basically help us figure out what are we going to do for the next several weeks, and then work with our team and figure out what materials do we need and kind of map that out. They lead the class. They keep the environment safe. So they have to have technical expertise, and they have to have some teaching technical skills. The bar is not really high, but you do have to possess that. The volunteer mentor, on the other hand, is very, very different than that. The volunteer mentor needs to commit to showing up weekly and how to enter into this space. The volunteer mentor needs to be able to show up every single week, physically able to work in our shop. We're a mobile workshop. You gotta be able to get up and down off the floor and put screws in and lift stuff over your head, and you gotta be able to do some stuff. So that does matter. And probably most importantly, you have to be able to negotiate whether or not hippos can swim. And I mean it. Like that was a full week-long debate. Whether or not hippos can swim across a whole bunch of programs. fun is actually a really important component of this, and you have to be able to enter into that space with the kids, okay? So our big question tonight is, we need help shaping a discipline of scaling our program teams with qualified individuals. And qualified matters. I'm protective of these kids. We have to be able to step into that and meet them where they are, and we need to be able to grow that. So recruitment is obviously, we're going to break it into 3 themes. The table questions are broken down that way. How do we recruit and find more people? We need more women. We're showing up in a math class and a science class, and like truthfully, it feels like we're right down the middle. So we need more. How do we find more? Then how do we vet them? To this point, Andy and I would sit down and have coffee with everybody. Guess what? I'm over capacity. I can't sit down and have coffee with that many people to weed through it. And then the third piece is, how do we onboard and train? What's reasonable training expectations for volunteers? Like, I don't know. So we need to build the discipline around that. So that's what we're going to be asking you to help us figure out on the tables. I'm super honored that Jay Robinson connected me to Julie that got us here today. I am really honored that I get to carry my dear friend Andy's vision that he had from his hospital bed on and be able to put these tools in these kids' hands and create this space. So thank you so much for the time.
Okay, if you've been in this room before, you know this is where we spend 5 minutes asking questions, but sorry, that's not happening tonight because we don't want you here till midnight. So I'm going to skip that part, and while Vicky's walking up here to introduce Amber, I'm going to ask you to pick up your pens and write something on your feedback form. I know you have something you can write to Tim on that form.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Vicki Teedy, and I am so excited. It is such a privilege for me to get to introduce you tonight. Come on up, Amber. You can come up by me. To introduce you to Amber Brown. Amber is the founder and executive director of Black Butterfly Women's Services, and I'm telling you what, she is an overcomer. And you are about to meet an extraordinary woman who comes alongside and empowers women who have some challenging circumstances, and she empowers them to write a new story. So help me welcome Amber Brown.
Hello, everyone. How are you all tonight? Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm nervous, but we're about to do this thing. All right. My name is Amber Brown, and I'm the executive director of Black Butterfly Women's Services. It's a nonprofit that helps formerly incarcerated women and women in recovery by providing services and housing. The house opened in 2020, and I am so thankful that a generous donor paid off the house in full in 2023. Thank you. Our goal at Black Butterfly is to create a space where women can feel seen and supported. We believe that with the right environment, women can take flight and thrive. Please take a moment to watch the video about my journey to Black Butterfly. Thank you.
I feel like when I was younger, I was a follower. Kind of hung out with the wrong people, and I didn't know my identity. It took me to go through a lot in life for me to figure out who is Amber. So at the age of 15, I was in a physical altercation on school property, and my consequence was being tried as an adult. I had 86 months over my head, and I served 6 years on probation. I've had a lot of people walk through my journey with me. I was so young, so a lot of things were new to me, and mainly because a lot of us with a criminal background, we don't know where to go or what's out there. And it takes that person to help you or guide you to that resource. When I was younger and when I got in trouble, I didn't really think of the consequences. Now I think of the consequences. I think before I act because I don't want to put myself in a situation that is going to take me a lifetime to get out of. I had a criminal record, and that kind of got in the way of me getting a decent job or a job at all. And so it was really tough. I struggled with jobs, employment opportunities, and also housing. That's like the first thing on the list. When you're trying to figure out life and figure out how to be independent, the first thing that you need to knock off is safe and stable housing. If you have nowhere to lay your head, there's no way you can get anything done. It's not easy being a person with a criminal background, even being a person with no criminal background, but just not having the credit. There's a lot of situations that can get in the way of you finding affordable, safe housing. So I want to be their resource for these women in the house. I want to make sure they have everything they need. And that's why the house exists now. Black Butterfly is a home for women that are in crisis situations, and we make sure we provide resources they need, a bed, food, clothing, anything they need to be self-sufficient. That's the purpose of this home. When you come through the doors, you might come through lost, you might come through scared, but when you walk out, we want you to feel empowered, to feel beautiful, to feel loved, and to know that you're capable of doing any and everything you can in life.
I think it's essential to have some kind of sisterhood and some kind of community where people understand you and just accept you from wherever you're coming from, whatever direction and wherever you want to go. I think that's just paramount to any kind of recovery at all.
I'm used to dysfunctional community, but one thing that I've learned from Amber is that she doesn't judge you by what you've been through. It reminds me of like what it's supposed to be like.
I really truly want to give back. I made mistakes in the past, and I really just want to teach these women that no one's perfect. You know, we're all human. You're going to make mistakes. But the one thing that you always remember is that you are not your mistake.
Thanks for taking a moment to learn a little bit about me. As you heard, at the age of 15, I was sentenced to 86 months of prison stay time over my head, and also 6 years of probation. I had to learn how to navigate the criminal justice system while also learning how to be an adult. My criminal history got in the way of employment opportunities and safe housing options. Through prayer, I always knew that God would make a way for me and Black Butterfly. Black Butterfly exists to provide women with resources that they need to rebuild their lives, helping them become productive members of society and to transition back into their communities. I've grown from a little girl into a beautiful black butterfly, evolving through so many different stages in life. Now I help other women go through their own transformations. Okay, there are currently 564 women in Shakopee Prison today, and that is excluding jails and halfway houses right here in Minnesota. Researchers say that women face unique challenges that make them especially vulnerable, such as 25% of these women have not completed high school. 77% of these women have children. And women are 5 to 7 times more likely to be unemployed, and 92% of these women have probation obligations that they have to meet. Many reentry programs help with jobs and counseling, but not many help with housing, which is critical piece to successful rebuilding. Our vision is for each woman to live in a world where a mistake could lead to an unbelievable success story. The Black Butterfly House offers safe and sober housing that delivers support services tailored to complex needs of women transitioning from prison to society. While we offer a sober community, we do not operate as a sober home. One of the things that sets us apart is that Black Butterfly is one of the very few transitional houses with support services for women coming out of prison. Black Butterfly is more than just a sisterhood. We offer a range of services designed to uplift women and to guide them on their journey by helping women define and achieve their personal and professional goals, by providing safe housing with meals, personal care items, and bus cards, by equipping women with skills for long-term employment, by building financial literacy and independence, encouraging a deeper connection to faith and purpose, and assisting with smooth transitions back into society. Finally, residents are encouraged to meet a weekly 25-hour productivity goal and to contribute to the community, which includes working a job, meeting with sponsors, attending classes, community service, and household tasks. All right, here's a few pictures of our home. Our home is in an ideal location near felony-friendly jobs and within walking distance of grocery stores and community service, promoting independence. We provide important amenities that women need to transition well, like Wi-Fi, workstations, so that women can work remotely and also take online classes. We also ensure basic needs are covered so women can focus on personal growth and their goals. We provide welcome kits, essentials like hygiene supplies, laundry detergent, and clothing. At Black Butterfly, we understand that it takes a village to ensure successful reintegration of these women. That's why we rely on community partners for support. We collaborate with organizations that assist with peer recovery support and substance use support, career building, housing resources, and so much more. This includes organizations such as Emerge Community Development Center, New Way Treatment Center, and Career Force. We celebrate every single milestone, whether it's graduating from treatment, achieving sobriety dates, achieving accomplishments, accomplishments, or birthdays, because we want each woman to know that we genuinely care about their journey to success. At Black Butterfly, we're focused on lowering recidivism by breaking the cycles of unemployment, poverty, and substance abuse. In the past 40 months, we've helped 40 women rebuild their lives. We have several achievements that are worth celebrating, but I want to draw your attention to 4. 80% have become employed. 60% have gained visitation rights of their children. 15% are now homeowners, and 100% are now contributing members of their communities and are working, attending church, pursuing their education, and caring for their families. We're proud to say that these women are pursuing a better future. Thank you. Thank you. Our business model relies on grants, with 3 set to expire in 2025. Rent is our second largest revenue source, but occupancy issues have caused a $25,000 loss from vacancies this year. Individual donations are limited at this time, and implementing fundraising efforts could create revenue. Staffing is our biggest expense. As the part-time executive director, I'm the only employee, but we recently hired a part-time program developer and a house manager who received reduced rent for onboarding residents. Rent ranges between $650 to $750, with a subsidy program ensuring no one is turned away. The rent has been thoughtfully selected to help prepare women for market rate rent so they can get ready for independent living. We anticipate more revenue than expenses this year. However, our financial projections for 2025 forecast a large gap between our revenue and expenses. The grants that we have are set to expire in 2025. They currently make up 80% of our income. Next year, they will be significantly less. While I will be applying for additional grants, I have no guarantee that additional grant money will be received, and I plan to generate additional sustainable revenue for other income sources. Without increased or new revenue sources, I will be forced to make really difficult cuts to staffing that will have a negative impact on our programming. One way to make a dent in this gap will be to ensure that the house is fully utilized with full rooms and increased donations. As I invite you to help me consider how I can improve my revenue model tonight, I want to share a bit of background on what I'm currently doing. You've already seen that grants make up the bulk of our revenue, but they are unpredictable. We are not currently running fundraising events. However, I have some preliminary plans in place with an advisory group for 2 community awareness events in 2025 and a potential gala next year. When I have the opportunity to speak and work with churches and businesses, we often see financial and in-kind support from both. When I first started Black Butterfly, I started a GoFundMe page that my friends and the community supported. I recently started sending a quarterly newsletter to over 100 supporters. Donations can be made through our website or by mail. We have 1 reoccurring donor, and we have received a few one-time gifts. As I shared earlier, the mortgage on the house was paid in full, and a van was purchased from the help of a family foundation. Also, our 5 dedicated board members have been critical in grant writing and community connections, and we wouldn't be where we are today without their support. As I think about the current state and size of Black Butterfly, I realize a significant part of our revenue challenge is the fact that we need more awareness. Many people simply do not know that we exist. If I can increase referrals to the house, I will be able to fill the vacant rooms and generate additional rent income. We currently have 3 residents with a capacity of 7. The average rent this year is $716. Maintaining full capacity occupancy is challenging due to inconsistent referrals and the fact that Black Butterfly is still so new and so unknown. We need to increase awareness and build trust to do this. Currently, referrals come from Shakopee Prison, parole officers, treatment centers, and churches. I invest a lot of time building connections in the prison system. I recently had the opportunity to speak to more than 250 women at Shakopee Prison. Ramsey County Jail has recently invited me to help lead a bi-weekly healing circle. We also receive referrals from local community organizations. I love to get to a point where we have a wait list and we can immediately plug women into those vacancies. I'm also taking opportunities provided to share my story in churches and local businesses. While we lack a regular volunteer pool, more opportunities to share my story may increase our volunteer and donor pool. As I dream about the future of Black Butterfly and the vision that God has given me, I want to build an organization that is strong and stable and known for helping women transition out of prison, break the cycle of incarceration, and help women become the best version of themselves. So many things that are already in place in such a short time that Black Butterfly has existed, but I have big dreams for the future. My dream for the next few years is to effectively reach and empower 50 to 100 women annually. With increased awareness and referrals to fill vacancies, I know that I can get there. That growth will eventually require a larger or an additional home, which will require a strong revenue model and larger pool of support for donors and volunteers. As I transition into the strategic acts for tonight, I want to recap what the biggest barriers I'm currently facing in moving the organization forward. Grants are unpredictable and time-consuming, making planning very difficult for our future. Our top priority is to reduce reliance on grants by increasing donations from individuals and companies. It can be very difficult to gain access to people with decision-making power inside the prison system. I want to better collaborate with Shakopee Prison and the broader Minnesota correctional system to build trust and to help boost referrals. I also need opportunities to share my story with women inside the prison system, as we know that the women make the final choice of their transitional plan and their housing needs. I would love the opportunity to present at every county jail here in Minnesota. We need more staff support. Currently, I serve in all the roles except the house manager and a development consultant. I know that hiring a housing coordinator and community liaison will help and allow me the time so that I can focus on building partnerships and doing the fundraising. But first, I need additional revenue to do this. I also need additional volunteers, mentors, community partnerships to provide more support for the women, job opportunities, and permanent housing options for the women that we serve. So tonight, I'm asking all of you to help me overcome these barriers and build a sustainable revenue model that will set Black Butterfly up for the future. How can I build on what has already been created to generate additional revenue to reach my goals and serve more women? Thank you.
Okay, pick up your pen one more time, write something down on that feedback form. That would be awesome. Okay, this is the most important part of the evening. It's where we put you to work. So you can't leave. We're locking the doors, and you guys are going to roll up your sleeves. Half of the room is going to facilitate for Legacy to Inspire. Those would be the blue table cards. And the other half of the room is going to facilitate for Black Butterfly. Those are the yellow table cards. There's facilitators at each table. The executive directors will walk around and answer some of your questions, but we want to make sure that they get to all the tables so you can't keep them at your table. Remember, be as specific and detailed as possible with tangible suggestions. And if you sit down at a table, consider being a scribe. There's a Chromebook, and if you can take notes while the facilitator facilitates, that would be awesome. Okay, we have 2 rules. I have 2 rules. If you've been here before, you know what they are, but I'm going to repeat them. This room is a welcoming, friendly, non-clicky room, and it's because all of you reach out to the new people. And there were 100 new people signed up tonight, so turn around to your left and your right, and there's probably a new person there. So here's my rule. It's going to be a little tricky here, so I'm not sure. Okay, we're going to fudge here a little. Usually I make you all stand up, move to a different table without the people you're sitting with, but I'm not sure that is actually going to happen. It could take a half an hour, and that's all the time we have for brainstorming. So I'm going to say, if you're sitting at a yellow table card, Black Butterfly, and you want to facilitate for Black Butterfly, stay there. If you're at a blue table, you want to do Legacy to Inspire, stay there. If you feel if you want to move to another table, then stand up, grab a chair, and move to another table. That's how we're going to work it tonight. And there's only 30 minutes, so if you guys stand up and talk, it doesn't work. So you can't talk, just move, and I'll see you in 30 minutes. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for the great ideas. There's a few more things we're going to do, and then we're going to wrap up, and you guys can stay for coffee and treats and fellowship. So, first thing I want to tell you is make sure on your feedback form that you marked whether or not you can come to the AMP session. And an AMP session is just a 1-hour meeting on Zoom next week in the morning. And it's with the executive director and some of you that are in this room tonight. It shows your support, your encouragement to the executive director when you show up. So the person next to you isn't going to show up. You guys need to check that little box for one or both of those AMP sessions so that you can help the executive director sort through some of the ideas that were generated here tonight that will be in a summary report and figure out what the next steps are for them to tackle. So please consider showing up. It's 1 hour in the morning. Legacy to Inspire is next Monday from 8 to 9 a.m. And Black Butterfly is next Tuesday from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. because Amber has a little girl she has to take to school. Okay, now if you will indulge me for one moment, this is the last meeting that I will be leading before my retirement. And I would like to ask my family to stand. Well, they are standing, sort of. So I can thank them for being with me in this since the beginning. My kids have rolled hundreds of Amplify t-shirts and tied bows over the years. My daughter produced our online Amplify meetings for 18 months during COVID, and it turned her hair prematurely gray when she dropped 100 people off the Zoom call. My son helped with SEO on our website. My sons drove around our keynote speakers every year, and let me just say, they were not all as chill as Bob Goff. My sister has been at the welcome table almost since the beginning, along with my kids. My daughter-in-laws have run our fundraisers before we had staff, and they all troubleshoot, clean tables, break down after the meetings, and often are the last ones to leave with the staff. So thank you, family. And one more note of thanks to all the partners in the room who make up the Amplify family. Thank you for the many ways you have continued to show up for me and Amplify in the past 8 years or past 80 minutes. Amplify works because of each one of you. Each of you has made this job amazing. And thank you for everyone who says yes. Okay, let's just say it one time together. Yes. Good, I wanted to hear that one more time. Okay, if this is your first meeting, would you stand? We want to welcome you, and we have wait, you can't sit down. There's more to this whole thing, so hang on. No, you can't sit down. We have amazing t-shirts that we want to give you when you walk out. Okay, if you don't, they're so adorable, but they're really soft too, so don't leave without grabbing a t-shirt. So we're going to take the microphone and pass it around, and if you do one thing, say your name and one word to describe your experience tonight or something that surprised you, okay? And we'll just pass around the mics.
You want just that one?
Put one over there. Okay.
My name is Peter, and this was inspiring.
Brent Voller, hopeful.
Mary Esau. It's challenging to see what's ahead.
Ashley Hughes, inspiring.
Alex Sands, thankful.
Dan Wallach, community. Chris Cathers, powerful.
Laura Larson, enlightening. Jill Overby, inspiring.
Tom Anderson, impressed.
Jessica Porter, nudged.
Julie Stahl, delighted.
Nate Walker, proud of the organization.
Ron Meyer, excited.
Trista Koivisto, and I would have to say hopeful.
I'm Dave Loso, and it's inspired, and my ribs are a little sore.
Kevin Kennedy, life-giving.
Kathy Zappa, grateful.
Stephen Prince, challenged.
Randy Hansen, thankful.
Rick Clare, encouraged.
Troy Parrish, challenging.
Brian Lannon, connected.
Angela Preston, energized.
Catherine Archambault, grateful.
Bridget Emerson, inspired.
Barb Christensen, ideation.
Jenny Baker, insightful.
Wendy Seelhoff, excited.
Christy Jacobson, heartwarming.
Molly Storrs, wonderful.
Mike Teedy, encouraged.
Kristen Dierpa Cushing, breathtaking.
Dan Vargas, motivated.
Krista Wilson, inspired.
Megan Jovig, inspired.
Brian Fleming, energized.
Alana Siebenaler Ransom, intrigued.
Nick Ball, encouraged.
Steph Fleece, thankful.
Mark Zubert, invigorated.
Will Gunderson, happy.
Tina Hoberston, collaborative.
Don Erickson, meaningful.
Alex Rollins, hopeful.
Mark Edwards, grateful.
Judy Praska, wow.
Jeff Perel, inspired.
Dave Snyder, empathetic.
Janice McMiller, inspired.
Erica Dvorak, excited.
Garth Warren, double invigorated.
Jen growing.
Anna Kiranen, giving.
Matt Pasiga, collaborative.
Caitlin Strand, moved.
Larry Gates, energized.
Sarah Arthur, feeling the momentum.
Eric Duvall, amazed. Adam Cohn, proud to be part of this group.
Susie Heim, heartwarmed.
Leah Winter, I was in the bathroom, sorry. We're supposed to say one word? Okay. Relieved, yes. I was also the scribe, so I had to run. Reminded.
Ken Ritterspaw, challenged.
Dave Graff, motivated.
Chuck Ellis, motivated.
Jake McEwen, educated.
Mike Sharber, blessed.
Brian Pink, hopeful.
Carrie Pink, it was beautiful.
Lynn Rugger, surprised.
Greg Sichlag, enlightened.
Chris Robinson, inspired.
Bill Young, amplified.
Keith Guggenberger, intrigued.
Karen Rulofson, collaborative.
Her other half, David Rulofson, inspired.
Kirk Oliver, intentional.
Jocelyn Taylor, creative. Anna Evans, encouraging.
Lisa Wolf, eyes opened.
James Tucker, energized.
Megan Tucker, imagination.
That way.
Kelly Bauer, glory to God.
Katie Shatusky have two statements: follow your bliss, keep moving forward.
John Noltner, visionary.
Jenny Severson, electric.
Samantha Grimsley, inspired.
Rachel Vogie, amazed.
Jen Becker, blessed.
Andrew Grimsley, reassured.
Are we done? Okay, real quick, sit down. We're going to finish a couple more things, and then I'll let you go. We're staffing the volunteer table tonight outside the Westview room door. And we'd love for you to stop by to better understand the easy and simple ways that you can plug in. You can ask questions, get some more information about how our volunteer programs work. Clinton Rooney, Tim Smith, and Mike Braun will be there to answer your questions, make you laugh. And they also want to find out what your interests and talents are so they can plug you in a meaningful way. One last ask. On the table are small 4x6 cards. They're survey cards. And some of you are going to say, well, I filled these out last time. I don't need to do it this time. But the way we keep getting better, evolving, creating, growing, and learning is because all of you will take like 5 seconds to fill out 5 questions and let us know what we can do better and what we're doing well. And if you're not tired of my voice yet, would you also follow us on social media? And if you do, Marie is going to give you a prize. Not sure what the prize is. What is it, Marie? It's a secret. Okay. Anyway, just follow us on social media, please. Our meeting next week, in January, is January 14th. Our keynote speaker is Joe Saxton. If you know Global Leadership Conference, she spoke this year at it. She is a rock star. The ministries are 3,000 Acts of Kindness and Resold. Last thing, before Matt closes us out in song, I'm going to bless us all with a non-traditional blessing. May God bless you with discontent, with easy answers, half-truths, superficial relationships, so that you live from deep within your heart. May God bless you with anger at injustice, oppression, abuse, exploitation of people, so that you will work for justice, equality, and peace. May God bless you with tears to shed for those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, and war, so that you will reach out your hand to comfort them and to change their pain to joy. May God bless you with foolishness to think that you can make a difference in this world, so that you will do the things which others tell you cannot be done. As you have the courage to accept these blessings, God will also bless you with happiness, because you will know that you have made life better for others. Inner peace, because you have worked to secure outer peace for others. Laughter, because your heart will be light. Faithful friends, because they recognize your worth. These blessings are yours, not for the asking, but for the giving, from one who wants to be your companion, our God, who lives and reigns forever. Amen.
I'm going to close with a song called Bring 'Em Home, and it's the result of a nudge that I received myself after seeing the movie Sound of Freedom last year. And I was really, my eyes were really open to that terrible reality that is sex trafficking, that a lot of our kids are impacted with and by. And the song was basically just something designed to bring awareness and then hopefully some action. Innocence lost, and we count the cost of millions living in fear. And imagine for a moment if your child were stolen, the rush of emotions and tears. You see, my heart breaks at the thought of that little face, scared, hopeless, all alone. And I wonder what it'd take to bring them all home. Let's bring them all home. As a child sits broken, a monetary token, their dreams are all stolen by time. In the darkness they're shaking, bodies for the taking, and the money men are making a crime. You see, my heart breaks at the thought of that little face, scared, hopeless, all alone. And I wonder what it'd take to bring them all home. Let's bring them home. See my broken heart's a beginning, a start, but feelings all alone won't get it done. So come take my hand, every woman and man, and to these children we will run. To these children we will run, oh, and bring them home. Let's bring them home. Let's bring them home. Let's bring them home. So before it's too late and another heart breaks, another lost soul all alone, imagine the joy of a little girl or a boy when they walk through the door and they're home. When they walk through the door and they're home. Let's bring them home. Let's bring them home. Let's bring them home. Let's bring them home.